welcome back to the Flicks Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. This episode, we have Netflix 85th film. It's the 2016 Indian Tamil language film, and it's a drama called Sometimes, or Sila Samayangalil. It's directed by Priyadarshan, starring Prakash Raj, Sriya, Reddy, and Ashok Selvan. I am Jesse, and I'm here with MJ.
Hello, Jesse.
How you doing?
Did you practice saying the title?
I didn't. I feel like I probably stuffed that up.
No, I thought you did well, because I have been reading it in my head, but I actually mentioned it to someone yesterday, read it out loud, and I completely butchered it.
Yep.
So you might have heard me make a little noise when you said it. That was a noise because I was impressed.
Okay, good. So,
I'm not saying you got it right, because unfortunately neither of us really know, but I think you did a good job.
Yeah, I hope that's okay. I'm not trying to offend anyone, so
No,
at least people know what we're talking about today, I guess.
Can I also mention, I just thought of me once you clicked record, we've been chatting for sort of 20 minutes before you click record, you're not wearing
my baby driver shirt. I'm not.
And today, you don't have an excuse.
I don't. Yeah.
You've had the opportunity to wear it.
We can hit pause and I can go and find it.
No, you just need every single... This is almost like the wager that we had during Podmas.
It was. No, I've lost this one.
This is two in a row. I'm starting to feel like it's a personal thing, that you're electing to make me upset, so...
I would never do that.
For those who don't know, Jesse mentioned a couple of episodes ago that he had a Baby Driver shirt that he couldn't really wear because of the whole Kevin Spacey thing, which makes a lot of sense, and I asked him to wear it at the next podcast, and he forgot then, and he's forgotten again now, so...
You'll forgive me, I'm sure.
I will, especially if you wear it next episode.
There's so much pressure on next episode now. So much pressure. All right, well, we are looking at this film called Sometimes. And we start our shows with Fast Flicks, where we do our own little summary of the film. So, MJ, what is your summary of Sometimes?
So, again, with Fast Flicks, I've said this before, and sometimes I stray away, but I really want my Fast Flicks to be my elevator pitch. So when someone's like, MJ, you watch Sometimes, what's that about? So that's what I want it to be. And for this, I might be giving too much away, but this is what I would say to someone, is that Sometimes it's about 7 strangers awaiting results of a blood test for HIV, discover that only one of them has actually contracted the disease. The question is, which one? Now, I know, the point is, I've sort of gone through halfway through the film in that Fast Flicks, which you normally wouldn't, but that's the appeal. If you wanted to get someone to watch the film, you'd have to mention that.
That's the setup of the film.
Yeah.
Easily. So, yeah, I've said very, very similar. I've just said, in the waiting room of a medical centre, tension hangs in the air between a group of strangers waiting for HIV results.
Tension's a great word, and it's going to come up again and again because it's it's the key emotion that you take out of the film, right? If there was no tension created, this film doesn't work at all. So
yes, this is probably a good time for us to mention that we're going to spoil this film too. So we've given our brief summary. If you want to avoid what happens in the end of this film, switch off now.
And hopefully, if you don't know about this film, you've just heard that Fast Flicks and gone, I'm intrigued by this. So go watch it. It's a good watch. It's an interesting watch.
This one, since I watched this film about a week ago, I have had the Britney Spears song Sometimes in my head the whole time. And it has been... I can't wait for this episode to be done so I can move on to the next one and forget that song.
Sometimes I run. Yeah, right.
Yes, so, that's just my...
Maybe you should have been calling it Sila Samayangalil instead of Sometimes, because you wouldn't have been singing.
Good. Okay, let's talk about what we know about this film. What have we found out about it?
There's a little bit on this film, which is nice. So the director, Priyadarshan, I think he's somewhat of a well-known director in India.
Oh, definitely.
So I'm going to start off. Have you heard of him before this?
I haven't, but looking into him as a director, whew.
So I was sitting next to a guy at work who is Indian.
Yep.
And I was chatting to him yesterday, and I said, "Hey, have you?" I said, "No." First, I said, "Do you speak Tamil?" And he says, "Yes, I do." He goes, "I haven't lived in India. He hasn't lived in India for 18 years, but yes, I do speak a little bit of Tamil." I said, "Okay, cool." And I'm like, I watched this movie the other night, and I showed him like the IMDb page. And he's like, Priyadarshan, straight away. And he's like, he normally specializes in sort of like a rom-com type thing, which I guess is more of a Bollywood type feel. You could say that a rom-com, but very good on like the romance stuff and a bit of fun, a bit of comedy. I said, well, this is definitely more of a drama. He goes, he doesn't really do that many dramas, but straight away he knew Priyadarshan. He knew the main actor Prakash Raj straight away. So it was good to get that context of these are all kind of pretty well known and well established people in this part of the industry. So
Good little background. I like that.
And then you sorry, hit the microphone. I'll do that like once every second.
That's all right. We're very motive with our hands. It's good.
What have you got though? There's more there, and that was the context I wanted to set up about.
Well, I just thought it was interesting that he came or sort of had the announcement for this idea in 2009. Like that's a long time. So this, while we are into our 2018 Netflix films, this was originally released in 2016.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 7 years to get a film written, up and running, released.
But it was. I think it wasn't necessarily they were working on it the whole time. I think he had this idea.
Yep.
He had Amir Khan, who was scheduled to take the lead role in the film, and then they just kind of sat on it. I believe. I don't think it was a case of them trying to get it up, but. So he was still scripting the film in 2011.
Yeah.
So I think he kept coming back and forth with it.
Still, that's a long time to have an idea in your mind that you're writing about.
He's churning out other films in the meantime.
Well, probably that's a good chance to talk about him as a director.
Yeah.
So his credits, like he has 78 directing credits and 57 writing credits.
He's a busy man.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work, and that's what I mean. Like, it's not like this guy's got a problem getting work made or work even funded.
No.
But in this situation, I think so. What the plan was to have the script finished by May 2012, and then they took a little bit longer, and then it just kind of stopped. I believe, like from 2012, it kind of stopped, and it wasn't until 2015 when Priyadarshan announced that he would make the film in Tamil, which I don't think was initially the plan. With Prakash Raj as the lead role. So they had another couple of people. I think Akshay Kumar was also linked to it at some point.
Prakash Raj, he worked for free on this film.
For free as well. Yeah. So that's the other thing. So he's obviously quite a big name in the industry in India. Pretty good of him to work for free.
I thought he was pretty good in this film as well.
He was fantastic in this film. Yeah, and that's without having any knowledge of who he was. So that's the other thing. You and me watched this film. All this stuff we're talking about now, we find out afterwards. So we watched this film having absolutely no idea who he was, and who the director was, and what the situation was with the script. We obviously watched the film without knowing any of that.
Yeah.
So it was shot in 25 days. So giving up his time for 25 days is pretty good, and really getting into that role. So one thing I found interesting is that the film was initially, and again I'm going to struggle with pronunciation here.
That's okay. Give it a go.
Where have I got this? So it was originally going to be called Sila Samayangalil.
Mm-hmm. What's the translation for that?
In some cases.
Okay.
Which
not a bad title.
Would have been much better than sometimes.
Not a bad title.
Because you got the word cases makes it really relevant to the fact that they're trying to wait to find out their results from it. Sometimes, so then eventually it got changed. Sorry, no, that's incorrect. Sila Samayangalil, which it didn't get titled, is actually the translation for sometimes.
Okay.
The film is called Sila Samayangalil, Lil, and that is in some cases, but in English they've called it sometimes. So sorry.
Okay, so
the direct translation of this title of the film is in some cases.
Okay.
Yet they've elected to call it sometimes in English. Sorry, I've confused you.
No, that's all right. I wonder why.
Me too, because in some cases makes so much more sense, and it fits a lot better. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes also gets really lost, and that's
okay. Good pickup.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting.
This one, just reading online that a lot of Tamil cinema has a lot of songs, a bit like that Bollywood sort of feel. So this one was a notable rarity, I guess, that there was no actual big songs in this one.
Which, if you're not familiar with those kinds of movies, you don't notice, because obviously there's no big songs in this. And
I did notice a lot of the soundtrack in this. They was pretty ordinary.
Yeah, to be honest, a lot of this felt pretty cheap.
Very cheap, yeah.
And that's fine. I'm more than happy to overlook that, because if the narrative's there, then I'm not too fussed.
Exactly, yeah.
But I'm sure it would have been a little bit tricky to try and get people really excited about it.
Yeah. I think this is our third Indian film from the Netflix originals.
Yeah.
But our first in Tamil, I think. So we had Brahman Naman, we had
Love Per Square
Foot, and now we've got this one as well.
Well, this is the first South Indian film to be a Netflix original, from what I can gather.
Oh, yep.
Tamil is a language that is spoken a lot more in South India.
Yeah. Anything else?
So this film actually made it to the final round of selection for the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
And I had a look, and I'm ashamed that I don't know any of the films that were actually nominated for Best Foreign.
So it's in 2017?
2017 counts, so I guess it would have been 2016 films.
Yep.
But, so the winner was Elle, which was a French film.
Okay.
There was also Divines, which from France, Neruda from Chile, The Salesman, Iran.
The Salesman? Oh, that won the Oscar that year.
Oh, did it?
Yep.
There you go. Didn't win the Golden Globe there. That's from Iran and France. There you go.
Yep.
And Tony Erdmann from Germany.
Okay.
Have you seen The Salesman?
No, I haven't.
Does ring a bell there.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, I haven't got anything else.
No, neither.
No. So, what about some consensus for this one? This one was very interesting for me because no matter how I searched for the film, whether it was in English translation or in the Tamil, it does not have a Rotten Tomatoes page. And I think this is our first Flix Forum episode where a film has not had a Rotten Tomatoes page.
Well, I think the main thing that I took out of it is I can't remember a film with this small a rating sample size on IMDb and Letterboxd.
Sure, what were we looking at there?
Well, there's only 546 people who have rated this film on IMDb with a really impressive 7.2 out of 10.
It's very high.
Very, very high. Only 190 people on Letterboxd with a 3.3 out of 5. So a bit more tempered there, but still a really good score. Yeah. But to the point, Jesse, where you and me, when we do put our Letterboxd scores in, that could change. That's how small the sample size is.
True. Two little ratings could bump it up or down.
And you'll have to know, me and Jesse don't put in our ratings on Letterboxd until we've had the podcast because we don't want to ruin the conversation that we have with each other. We used to do it early on, and then we'd look at it and go, oh, Jesse gave Mercy 4 stars. Like, how the hell are we going to talk about that? So we stopped doing that.
This one did have a Google users percentage, though.
It did, but it had nothing else. No Rotten Tomatoes.
No, but it had a Google users 93%.
93%. Well, that's a number that means it must have, a couple of people that have done it.
Yeah.
It's not like a 50 or a 75
or 100. Yeah. So this one, the release for this one was quite interesting, I guess. So it had that limited release in December of 2016 in India. Wasn't really picked up for a run anywhere. So they played it in cinemas in Belgium in April of 2018 before Netflix released it on the 1st of May 2018. And then it had a cinematic release in Sweden. Sorry. It didn't hit... Sorry, I got that wrong. Didn't hit Netflix in Sweden until the 23rd of May.
Okay, so what's that? 4 weeks later?
Yeah. So, yeah, a sort of a elongated release, I guess, from a year and a bit before Netflix decided, hey, we'll give it a crack.
Yeah, it's good, and we're seeing a lot more of that. I say we're seeing now. We're talking in 2018. From we're recording this in 2020, but we're looking back at 2018. We're seeing a lot of foreign language films sort of hitting at once.
Yeah,
Netflix obviously just building that catalog, which is really interesting to see now that we know the streaming world that we live in. Obviously, with Disney Plus and HBO and all these other things coming on board, with everyone using their own content, Netflix being really smart with. We need to get as much of our own content that we can get on, and we know that we're a worldwide proposition. So
yeah, I think this was filmed in Bangalore, from what I could read. So
I'll have to take your word for that one.
Yeah. Okay, time for our early thoughts.
Well,
no, yes,
no, it is.
Yes,
yeah,
okay,
I wanted to say that I always give my early thoughts first because you do a great job hosting this podcast.
No, you co-hosts.
Yeah, I know, but you anchor it so well, and I feel like you're always asking me questions, and I'm kind of stealing the limelight from you. And I want to know what you thought of this film before I tell you.
The reason I do that is because your thoughts are a lot more sophisticated than mine. I'm just the one that tags along at the end and goes, "Yeah, good job, MJ. I like that." So that's good.
Jesse.
But I'm happy to go with my.
No, I feel bad. I don't want to steal the limelight always.
All right, so early thoughts from me. So this, to me, it was like a public service announcement about AIDS.
Oh yeah.
Without it appearing like it.
Until the end.
Until it
was a public
then
service.
Then it was. So again, I'm going to use this word tension, and the tension is built throughout, and I really enjoyed this one. It's going to be hard for me. This one reminds me so much of another film that we've done, Seven Años.
I referenced Seven Años.
Yeah. So on Flix Forum, we did another foreign language film where it literally had one location, and this is very similar to Seven Años. One situation. So that's my early thoughts. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not dissimilar, to be honest, Jesse. I thought it worked as a movie, and I wasn't sure if it was going to. So I wasn't completely in love with it, but I do think Priyadarshan has created a pretty compelling narrative based in more or less one room that spans a few hours' time. And like you said, with the tension, I really liked the idea of us as an audience being able to feel that dread that they're feeling as characters and that awful sense of anticipation. And it just goes up a level once they say, one of you actually has it. And you're like, oh, how did they create an extra level? But they've done it. To that point, I don't think it quite hit the mark of Seven Años.
Yep.
And I was a huge fan of Seven Años, so that's not really shooting down this film at all. I just didn't feel that connection with the characters that I did in Seven Años. I found them all a bit interesting, but I really only cared about one of them, maybe two of them. So that was probably the one thing that held me back a little bit. There's 7 characters in this room, and 5 of them I didn't know enough about. Didn't mind when we met them, but I just wasn't that interested in them.
Yeah, I think those other 5 were just there to... that you. I don't think you're needed to really worry about.
Agreed.
Them at all,
But if you had have been able to create that connection, which is difficult to do, but if you had have,
Yeah.
this movie goes up a notch.
Sure. Good. Okay. So we're going to get into it and talk about our characters or the characters from the film. Like we mentioned earlier, there are 7 characters that are sitting there waiting to find out these results. And like you said, I don't think we need to talk about all 7 of them.
We certainly don't.
But I think there's
So we talked about Prakash Raj, who played the main. Well, there's arguably 2 main characters in this film, but Prakash Raj plays Krishnamurthy, who is more or less the first character we properly meet or cling to, and I just connected with him so early. We talked about it before, but I thought it was just a really great, understated and subdued performance by Prakash Raj. And I just immediately felt compassion for him, even when he was filling out his forms and filled the wrong thing out and had to borrow up. I was automatically, I just wanted to hold this guy close and be like, it's okay, it's okay. I also kind of like the idea that he's in that room getting tested for AIDS because he did the wrong thing.
Yep.
So here's a guy that I really, really liked. I really felt compassion for from the very start. But the fact that he's cheated on his wife.
Yes.
And in a way where you're like, oh, you kind of didn't mean to, but you still did. You still did. It makes it all, that emotional tennis match that was going on in my head, so much more compelling, because I'm like, do I like him? Do I not like him? He's done the wrong thing, but he knows he's done the wrong thing. Because probably 50% of people in the room were there getting a test because they'd done the wrong thing. Some of them just were plain unlucky. In fact, they were really sad stories about how they might have contracted AIDS. But he's one of the guys who did the wrong thing. So, I don't know. He was just a really... the whole movie, I just wanted to know what was going to happen with him.
And I think I'm along the same lines, because I was frustrated that it took so long to find out his name as a character. And so I referred to him as Stripe Shirt the whole time.
He didn't talk for the first...
He didn't talk, and he was so quiet. He didn't engage with anyone. You could feel that stress that he was feeling, and I think that's probably why you sort of have that connection with him, is because you're like, okay, I can feel the stress that this guy's going through. And
it's true, you just want to go, oh, you poor bastard, what's wrong?
And I think like you said, I think the actor did an amazing job on that, and I liked that they related it back to him being this family man, even though he'd done something which was probably which was horrendous towards his family. I did like that they made lots of references to. He's like, he's the only reason he's getting the results are for his family, I guess. And they showed that through lots of things, that the reason is for his kids and for his wife. This is what he wants to do.
And you saw that as he didn't have to say a word for you to know that this was a good family man. You could just tell by the way he held himself and the way he was so concerned. It was I just found him such a fascinating and interesting character. And I think early on, when it took me a little bit to get into the film, the reason that I was into it was because I was so curious as to why this guy was so flustered. Why is he keeping his cards so close to his chest? What is he doing here, waiting here all day? I needed to know all those things.
Did you feel like you were able to discover all that or not?
100%.
Yeah, okay, good,
Within
good.
almost the first conversation that he had, I felt like... And you know what? It felt true to the character I'd already seen as well. Like when he finally opened up about what was wrong and why he was the way he was, I feel like that's the guy I thought that was sitting there. So it was really well done.
Good. Who have you got next?
Well, the man who actually unlocked that for us is Bala. So played by Ashok Selvan. This is probably more me than anything else, but something about him felt off the whole time. He felt a little bit sneaky, but he kind of turned out to be just like this really stand-up guy. And I was kind of waiting for something to happen where he wasn't stand-up. But he was compassionate, he was educated, he always had great intentions. And I think the thing that got me the most was his situation was really dire. Those results were, they were life-changing for everybody, but they were significantly life-changing for him and his family and the people around him. And I enjoyed the way that he just seemed to really understand everyone and everything, and he was great.
Yeah, I thought he was really good too, and I totally I agree that he was. Without him, the film didn't keep going.
100%.
You needed him as a narrative plot to keep the film going, and they did that through making him a pharmacist. I guess that was the way, because he'd done all this research. He knew what he was dealing with, so he was able through the dialogue to drop these little bits, which was further information too.
Straight away, he goes, "The test's already done," and he's like, "Hang on, how the hell do you know that?" So that was a great part of the plot.
And I liked how he was an extrovert compared to the others too, because that made you want to be like, okay, good, I'm on his side, because I want to know the information from these characters too. I want to dig with him and find out, why are all these other people in this room. So
but he's digging in a really nice way as well. He's not trying to stand on anyone's toes, but he's also understanding that these guys are internalizing everything. And how much better would it be if they just sort of get it out in the open?
And I liked that about him compared to everyone else too, because it was he was ready to face the consequences of the actions. The others were all too concerned about the implications of it. Yeah. Whereas he was like, okay, if we've just got to deal with whatever happens.
Yeah.
I had the first person I wanted to talk about was the receptionist. Deepa.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they did this on purpose, but she's the worst employee I've seen in a film.
I think they did it on purpose.
No, I'm sure. But she did my head in. Late for work, on the phone to her mum all the time, takes bribes, owes money, rude to the customers. Yeah. I don't understand how she was still in a job.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, they would have done this on purpose, but
But that's the thing. So she's really unlikable, but they kind of had to keep her that way to make the final scene work. Because if you kind of started to like her or feel sorry for her, and then you realise that what she had done had caused such a catastrophic event by the end, just because she was being a little bitch about things, you'd be like, oh, but I really liked her. That's such a shame that happened. Because you're like, I've got no time for this girl. She's done the wrong thing time again. And then the final thing that she actually did caused someone to die because she was trying to be a little bit greedy and she couldn't give the information, and all of a sudden she's withholding and being rude and hiding herself. None of that really works well if you kind of like her.
Yeah, I would have liked one little bit of her that you could have connected with at least.
I hated her, Jesse. I hated her.
Okay, good. Me too.
She was selfish. She was sneaky. She didn't understand the importance of what she was doing.
No.
Yeah. And again, I think I was also waiting for her to have that redemption, because here's a girl who's short on rent. Her mum's, obviously, she's looking after her mum as well. Yeah. There's enough there for you to be like, I'll give her a leg up. Maybe she is a good person. But no, she was not a good person.
Any other characters, or are you done? Yeah.
No, and I tried to. Yeah. I tried to, what can I say about, the guy with the mutton chops, and what can I say about the bald guy and
the guy with the laptop.
They kind of have one story each that they just tell about how they might have contracted AIDS, and that's all you know about them.
Good. So we've spoken about the director already.
Yeah.
Cast, I think, was pretty good for what it was.
For sure. Those main three, for example, we talked about how good we thought Prakash Raj was. Yeah. I thought Ashok Selvan as Bala was really good as well. Had that charismatic way about him.
Yep.
And Deepa, we all hated her, and we were supposed to. So
done a good job too.
Sriya Reddy, I guess she did do her job. I don't want to see her in anything else though.
Well, now we should talk about some scenes.
Yeah.
Some scenes that we liked, and then follow them up with some ones that we didn't like so much. Give me some ones that you liked.
All right. Well, I really liked the way once they finally all seven of them had entered that room, the waiting room, and it paused on each character in the waiting room when Bala looked at all of them. It kind of was like a slow introduction that these guys are going to be a lot more important over the next 6 or 7 hours while they're in this waiting room, and I liked that establishing shot.
Yeah, it's good.
At this point, I wasn't too sure how the narrative was going to play out, and then straight away it's like, here we are. These are our characters.
I liked that too, where they sort of like the discreet manner that a lot of them took the tests and the way they were filling out the forms. I like the way they did that through the camera, and leads in with what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I got really excited when so Bala's trying to engage Krishnamurthy about anything really, but mainly they start talking about how he might have contracted the AIDS, and then Bala's kind of like, oh, do you want to know? No, Bala said, do you want to know why I'm here or how I think I might have got it?
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything. I'm like, come on. And then something happens, and then you just hear him say, what happened?
Yeah.
And I'm like, here we go. Like, this whole thing is opening up. So it's just those 2 words when he said, what happened? I was like, cool, we're on there. So, and that led straight into the scene where they both tell their stories. And I really enjoyed that because it just completely raised any stakes that I mean, obviously there's stakes regardless because we know they're having a serious test done, but learning how much it was going to impact their lives. So Bala was basically like, what a hard luck story. So he had a wife who contracted AIDS that they think through her job because she was a nurse or something, and but she died. And it wasn't until after she died they realized that she actually had AIDS. Now he's got a new wife. And she's pregnant, so she's having a kid, and he's like, what if I got AIDS from my old wife? Like, what an awful story.
Yeah.
Like, so that was a real innocent victim.
Like he was doing that not for himself, he was doing that for his child.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he'd already looked into what they can do if he did have AIDS.
Yes.
Because the fetus was at a point where, it could potentially still be helped or saved or whatever it was. But just fascinating, because... And you know what? We're going to get to this a lot later when we start talking about AIDS in general about this film. My knowledge of AIDS is just not that good. A lot of the AIDS stories that you hear about famous people who are homosexual and it's contracted that way, and you sit there and go, well, if you're not homosexual, maybe you can't get AIDS. Things like that. You don't understand the full extent of A, how you can get AIDS, and B, how it actually does impact your life and potentially not impact your life the way you think it does. So,
good point.
Really interesting. And I love that scene once we learn more about both those characters.
Good.
From then on, I liked it when they all pooled their money together and everyone wanted to be included because, it was Bala's hypothesis that all of them are going through this turmoil. The fact that they haven't gone into work that day, the fact that they haven't gone out to lunch or anything, they are waiting for those results because those results... I mean, there was hundreds of people getting results that day, and those 7 were the ones that sat out all day. I just liked it when everyone eventually wanted to be included, when the girl at the end... And the only reason she didn't do it in the first place, she didn't have the money to do it. So, and man, the final thing for me that I liked was that final scene. Just the whole almost the final act, the tension when all of them are going up
each
to get
one
their
individually,
results. And in your head you're like, one of them has it. And I think there's probably half an hour to go, and I remember thinking, how is this film going to end? I don't know how this film's going to end. What's the right way to end this film?
I don't think it was ever going to be a situation where those 2 main guys weren't going to be the last 2.
I did have that but you know what? Every now and then I completely slip out to overanalyzing a film and just go, the bad guy will get it because that'll be a nice ending. And then it gets to it and it's the final 2 and I'm just like, how are we going to do this? So that was when...
Because you're at that stage where you don't want either of them to...
Not at all. I don't... What's the good result in this? And stupidly enough, I never considered that maybe she gave them the false information. Because what a ridiculous information that is. She's like, one of you's got it. It's like, hang on, you would know. Like, but I didn't think about it at the time. And as soon as I was thinking whoever gets called up first is going to be the one who doesn't have it.
Yep.
And that's exactly how it happened. But when Bala, comes over to Krishnamurthy and says it, like... my heart just sank, and everything that he went through in his head, remember he's going through his head like, this is what everyone's going to be saying to him, this is how his life's going to be. Oh man, it hit me in 6, like it was really rough.
It was.
I won't go into the climax yet because that's not quite there, but that final tension in that scene was really well done. Really well done.
I sort of liked the little like black and white flashback scenes and the way that those extra 5 characters, I sort of liked the way that they were able to tell their story without you needing to actually connect with those characters, because it sort of just showed you the impact that AIDS has on people. There was, from falling in love, being unfaithful, sexual assault, being shot, touching blood, drug use. Like, these are all like things that happen in life.
There was everything, wasn't there?
And even though, we may not have cared for those characters, it was sort of... I appreciated that they included all of them. For that
sorry, and it's not that I didn't not care for them either. No, I didn't connect with them.
You didn't connect, exactly. Yeah. And, my last sort of things is that final scene too, where, and you mentioned this scene, but when he's the last one sitting there, just the way that they shot that scene as well, where they've got him sitting there, the lights illuminating these like shadows on his face, and you've got that voiceover of, his kid's going to have to find another school, going to lose his job, family's going to get kicked out of the house. And the thing that got me was like that line where he's got his wife's voice saying, "Let's buy poison and die together." Like that's how like detrimental or like what people think of this.
Thanks for what you've done to our life.
Really heavy. And the credits, where they've got all these facts and statistics, I mean, it's maybe a little bit over the top. I think you can probably leave it at where it was, but I think maybe for the audience in India, that sort of stuff's probably really important.
And I didn't mind it either. I've just never seen anything that explicit after a film. But to be honest as well, I think you need to think really deeply about this film to take that out of it. But at least in that way, you see it immediately. Like, we've obviously spent a fair bit of time with this film. We've thought about it. Now we're talking about it. And we can take everything out of that film that they want us to take. But if you're just watching this one off, you don't necessarily think about the stigmatism of AIDS as much as you think like, oh, that tension was great in the film. It really got me. Bang, done. I'm not thinking about it again. So it was relevant for that sense.
And, you know, us living in a country where it's not rampant, like, it's a completely different scenario to... If they did get a theatrical release for this in India, like that would have been a really important thing to have at the end.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. It was good.
Okay. So anything that you didn't like?
Not really. No. Really early on when they were all standing in line, sort of complaining about I just thought that whole connection with the characters was just really stale and forced. And I think maybe because I was still warming up into it, but I got the feeling that they were still... It's like day one, shoot one, let's film this. Like, it just felt like they were all warming into their characters. Okay. They were reading their lines, which is really tough when you're trying to get into a film and you see that straight away. It didn't work for me.
Sure.
And the only other thing I've got is right near the end, once they pulled their money, they found out that only one of them has it, and they're all kind of like, oh, that was a waste of time. And they all go to their separate areas. There was this really shaky camera work on these close-ups. So it did a close-up of every single character again, which I'm cool with because I really liked the first one they did. But the camera work was so shaky and I wasn't quite sure the intention of it. And it really took me out of the picture for a little bit. But that's all I've got.
Okay. The only real thing that I wasn't a fan of, there's a shot where they look outside the building and there's like this big billboard for it was like not the drug company, but like the medical insurance sort of thing. And I was just like, it didn't really, like, we get what the message they were trying to say. We didn't need another visual. That was all that really
potentially more relevant in India, though.
Yes.
Maybe it's like, hey, on the side note, you guys should be getting health insurance.
All right, what's this film trying to say? What are some ideas and themes?
Well, there's a little theme about AIDS, I think. That,
just a tiny bit, yeah.
But what's more about it, instead of the idea of AIDS, it's the stigmatism around AIDS. It's not talking about, like, say, Philadelphia in Tom Hanks in Philadelphia. Yeah. Talks about the disease, makes you understand the disease and the unfairness of the dismissal, all that kind of stuff. No one in this film actually has AIDS. But it's the perception of AIDS and the way people treat people who might have AIDS, or the way people think they might be treated if they do have AIDS. And I think that was really interesting, and that's the thing that stuck with me the most.
Yeah, it's about the awareness, and I know they use that word in the credits at the end, but it's not necessarily people doing the wrong thing. Like, you don't have to have this stigmatism or, you know, oh, they're contagious. It's like, hey, some people get this for just not even doing the wrong thing.
But then on the flip side, if I had a friend who told me they had AIDS, I wouldn't know whether that changes anything in our relationship. Like, I don't know. Like, can we not shake hands? And I'm sure you can. Like, that sounds ridiculous, right? But I just don't know. So, like, it's kind of nice to be like, it's all right. Don't treat them any differently. Like, you shouldn't even have to know if they have AIDS. Yeah. Maybe if you want to have sex with them, there's another way to think about it, right? But
yes.
Apart from that,
there's quite a little bit in there too about corruption in India, and
true, actually.
You know, like right at the start, they're talking about, you know, India's never going to be able to prosper with a broken medical system, and you know, they're complaining about there's a test that takes 40 minutes to get the results, but they make us wait all day, and you know, even the bribery between you know, the receptionist and the people, like, it just shows you that this sort of stuff is common, I guess.
Yeah, well, but the idea of cutting corners doesn't actually help either. Let things play its course, and that's actually perfect, because if they didn't do the bribery and they all just waited for their results,
everyone would have been fine.
It's a much happier ending, right?
It is. And you know, the idea that these guys, they want the test results to be positive for anyone but themselves. So there's no, it's not like when they get told there's only one that's got it, it's like, okay, well, you know, I've got a good percentage chance here. It's as long as that's not me, I'm okay.
But let's be honest, even Krishnamurthy, and he actually admitted it when the guy's like, oh, they always care about themselves. Like, so do we.
Yeah.
But when he thinks that Bala's the one that's got it, he comes over to him, he's all upset. And Bala's genuinely upset that Krishnamurthy's the one that has it. And Krishnamurthy's kind of like, oh, you got it. And he almost like has a little smile because he almost knows like, thank God, I'm safe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I like this idea too. Love and compassion. You just got to love people for who they are. Doesn't matter. Like,
For sure.
yeah, through bad times too.
And let's also not build hysteria over little things as well. Like there was so much hysteria built over that whole situation that didn't need to be there. Can we talk
topical.
about... Gosh, yeah.
Maybe we'll leave that one. We're
No,
not medical experts, so
we're not.
we won't talk.
We're just obeying orders, aren't we?
Yes. All right. What do we take away from this one?
Can I just ask you
Yes.
about the very final shot?
Question time already.
No, well, I guess so, but I thought we might have answered it elsewhere.
Yeah.
How did he kill himself? At the end, when he's
I
like...
didn't even take that away then, so I missed it then.
So right at the end, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he's dead.
Okay. I didn't.
Did you not think he was dead?
Nope.
Ah. So you think he was just sitting there being upset, and he didn't open his... he didn't get his results?
No, I think he just didn't take the results, and then he just had to deal with those consequences in his life. That's how I read it.
Well, so the cleaner like shakes him.
Yep.
And he's like a corpse almost, and he drops everything, and he's just sitting there. I thought he was dead.
Oh.
I thought he killed himself because he listened to all the thoughts that
Yeah.
are going to happen. I think everything's going to happen in his life, and he's
Yeah.
like, I can't go home.
Oh wow.
But
Okay.
I couldn't
That's
figure
good.
out.
Okay, I didn't. Yeah, I did not read that at all.
I tried to.
I was trying to work out because they had that symbolism with that little totem that he had in his hand.
Yes.
And that dropped.
That was what I wasn't sure whether there was like poison in it or whether he like. I don't know. Because the last thing you hear is her saying, "Let's take poison together."
Yes.
So I rewatched this. I rewound it
Yeah.
and rewatched it because I was so confused. And it's not clear that he dies, but I'm pretty sure he's dead at the end.
Okay,
But I
good.
don't know how.
So you saying this to me, I did not even consider
So
that.
that's
one
why
little
I'm
bit.
saying that her saying that one of you has AIDS is just a throwaway remark from her. Mm-hmm. But he's killed himself because he thinks he has AIDS. And remember, you see his ticket, it says 266.
Yep.
Because
He never goes and gets the results.
when they're sitting there talking, Bala and Bala's like, I don't have it.
Yep.
You hear them say 266.
Yep.
And
Again.
all he had to do was go up and get
get
his
it.
results, and he never did it. And I'm pretty sure, I thought that he killed himself
Oh, wow.
in that time.
I just thought he didn't get the results because he's like, there's no point. I know I've got it. And then it was just...
And he
leaving
just
it
sat
there.
there.
Yeah.
That would have been a much nicer ending than what I was
Wow,
going through in
jeez.
my head. I'm
Wow, if that's the ending now, I'm like thinking, wow, I need to watch the
it
end
again.
again. Yeah.
Watch it again. Because I wanted to ask you about it, and I Googled it online, and I couldn't find anything. Because I'm like... Because I was convinced he was dead.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how. And I still don't know how. And I could be wrong. Maybe he isn't dead. But I actually reckon that I wouldn't connect with the movie as much if he's not.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
to me, it all comes down to that decision that he made off the back of A, the hysteria, B, the fact they were trying to cut corners,
Yeah.
and C, the fact that she was a dirty bitch and was lying.
Well, that makes her an even worse
That's what I
character
was
for
trying
me.
to say.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying she needed to be that unlikable. Because her decision
Yeah,
led
like
to him dying.
earlier on, you like made a comment about her killing like someone. And I was like,
That's why I
was
thought
like-
you
was
were
like,
just being
I
coy
was-
about it. We'll talk about it later. Yeah. Okay.
No, because I didn't interpret that at all.
Watch it again. Let me know.
Good. I don't think we've had an episode in a while where we've
I'll be
completely
honest, there's
like,
very
not-
few people that have seen this film, as we spoke about before.
Yeah.
If you have seen this film or if you've watched it and you are a listener, please feel free to reach out to us, even if you just want to send us a private message or whatever and tell us your take. Because, we're a little bit stumped. We haven't been this stumped since Ark, I reckon, which was the 4th episode we did.
Yeah. Wow.
I gotta know.
I need to watch the end again.
I want to
'cause,
know, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I could be wrong and everyone's like,
No,
what the fuck are you talking about, mate?
I like it when people interpret things differently.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's quite...
Open my eyes. All right. What did you take away from this one then?
Well, we kind of spoke about it before, but fortunately it did change my perception around the stigmatism around AIDS,
Yep.
which is a huge thing for a film to get, you know? Sometimes you just watch a film and have a good laugh or something, but because in Krishnamurthy's head, his life was completely destroyed because of the way he interpreted AIDS and the way he thought everyone else would interpret it.
Yeah.
So in reality, it doesn't have to be that way, and as a society, we probably need to change the way we perceive and even treat people who have that condition, so...
Good.
It's a pretty big takeout from
nice
the film, to
take,
be perfectly frank.
I just thought that it shows how you can do like a thriller or a drama film in one location and you can do it well.
Which happens quite a bit.
Yeah. I thought this was done well.
I agree. And you know what? It's despite everything we're talking about, it's a pretty easy watch. and it's really well placed for Netflix. I'd be happy to tell someone to, hey, watch this.
Watch this.
Like, it's an easy watch.
What do you ask? What happened at the end?
Yeah,
that's what I'm.
Can everyone please watch this film?
Tell me what happened at the end. Oh wow! All
I'll
right,
get my mate from work to tell me. He might know.
Yeah. Did you jump on IMDb?
I did.
You did.
I had a look at Ashok Selvan, who played Bala.
Yep.
He just looked really familiar, and I thought, oh, maybe he's in like Love Per Square Foot or whatever. And I don't know him from anything, but he's got one of those faces.
I didn't even go on.
Yeah.
No.
Mine was a stretch.
Good. Question time.
Well, actually, I'm glad we spoke about the ending first, because
Yes.
my main question to you was, will Deepa ever understand the ramifications of what she's done?
Well, to me, I thought she was just going to keep living her life as a horrible person.
But I think, I think she might anyway. Like,
yeah.
What if she comes into work and, there's a guy who killed himself in the waiting room the other day? She probably still wouldn't associate that with.
Oh, dirty money.
Yeah, well, it is a little bit. Yeah, she got his money, and he paid for the other girl.
Oh wow, this is like blown me because I'm just like I just want to hurry up and finish it so I can go watch the end again.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other question I've got is, the guy who told the story about him hitting a truck driver and then carrying
the guy,
and he said, I hit the truck driver and then he died later in hospital of AIDS. How did he know that the guy died of AIDS? Was he checking?
He probably checked the news or something.
I just remember thinking, like,
he ran from the scene of a crime. I'm sure it was all over the news.
It was a hit and run.
Yeah.
And he just dumped him, and I was like, how did you know? Did you go and visit him?
Who knows? I'm sure that was on the news. It would have been on the news. Did you think the film was too conscious of its purpose? Because I think this is a really, was it just too focused on telling that one narrative of this is a story about AIDS and like you said, ignored the other characters and how you could have...
Yeah, I get what you're saying. In a sense, I think you're right, but I also think that I'm glad it didn't overcomplicate itself as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was so good about Seven Años as well. The premise was, one person in this company has to go to jail for 7 years. Who should it be?
Yeah.
That's the premise. And I think if you start to introduce too much and maybe get a bit too complicated with the characters, I'm not necessarily saying I needed more of a backstory with the characters. I probably just needed to connect with them a little bit more. So, yeah, I do see what you're saying, but I think it still worked in that sense. Cool. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't think it was too in your face. I think for what the message it was trying to portray, it definitely didn't overkill it.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Last one this just really annoyed me, and I don't know whether you picked up on it, but there's this constant reminder that we have to wait till 5 o'clock to get our results, and the poster above the desk where they get the results said, collection of results,
8 o'clock?
5:30 till 7 p.m.
Oh, so yeah, it said a different number. I do remember that.
5:30 to 7 p.m. And we saw it a few times and it really annoyed me. So I just wanted to, so you saw, obviously, mentally,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that, but obviously, it's a good point. We've had that issue before with clocks and times and stuff not matching up.
But especially if it's such an important thing that they're all stuck there waiting till 5, and then your sign says something else, that was just
it's a really good point. I should have, because it bothered me as well, and I just kind of let it go. Which you should, I guess, but you're right, good pickup.
We're ready to wrap this up.
I think we are.
So we give a rating out of 5 on the Flix Forum podcast, and then average it out for a Flix Forum average. MJ, what are you going to give this one?
Yeah, well, generally speaking, I really did enjoy it. I thought they created the tension really well on such a low concept idea, and despite not necessarily hitting it home from a character perspective, I did find my interest in the conclusion really growing as the film went on. I just had to know. I had to know. 3 stars for me.
Nice. Well, this one, I think it's a really important message, not only for the countries that struggle with these epidemics, but also for people like us who are in a country who maybe don't necessarily know or understand the extreme measures that these other places are facing.
Absolutely.
And, there's nothing wrong with being more aware about the world. And to me, I think this does a really good job of that. It was low budget, this one location. I felt the tension throughout. I'm going it a 4 out of 5.
Good man. No, it deserves a nice score.
Yeah, so that gives us a 3.5.
3.5
out of 5.
Very nice average.
Good.
When are we going to get a coronavirus movie?
We could do a special Contagion episode.
I'm so tempted to watch Contagion again.
I think it's in America, because it's not on the Australian Netflix.
No.
But in America, I think it's the number 1 film on Netflix in the past few weeks.
I recently rewatched Train to Busan, which is not necessarily a contained, like it's more a zombie apocalypse movie. I'm telling you, at the moment we're as close to a zombie apocalypse as we're ever going to get. So
We have social media.
we do. Yeah,
We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Instagram. Please send us a message if you know the ending of this film or understand the ending of this film. Subscribe to us, listen to us if you can.
Yeah.
We've got more than 84 other episodes to listen.
And about 200 to come.
Especially
God damn it, Netflix, slow down.
Especially if you're locked in your house for the next 14 days
That's
and want
true.
something to watch.
Yeah, watch and then listen. That could be your routine.
Could be. Question that I wanted to ask this week was, and we touched on this very, very early, but did you like the title sometimes?
I would have liked in some cases.
Yeah, I would have much preferred that as well.
Yeah.
So there's our answers.
Big error from those who are doing the
Translation.
translation.
Okay, so we're back again next week.
You better believe it.
We have another foreign film, or a foreign language film, or an international film, whichever category you want to put it in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2018 film, so we're going back to releases in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Italian drama Forgive Us Our Debts.
Okay, it's a nice title.
Yeah, it's directed by Antonio Morabito. It stars Claudio Santamaria, Marco Giolini, and Jersey Stir. So, haven't heard of any of those people.
Remember Anthony Morabito, who played for Fremantle?
Fremantle.
We had a lot of fun with him in fantasy footy, didn't we?
That was when I saw Morabito. I was like, I know how to say that surname. So we'll be back next week to discuss that one. And as usual, I've had a good chat with you, MJ. I like that one.
That was a good one. I look forward to talking to you later on once you've rewatched.
Once I've watched the last 10 minutes.
I also look forward to seeing you in a particular T-shirt next time we chat.
Thank you for reminding me. I need to write that down now. But as usual, I'll see you next week.
See you then. Bye.
All right, we are back. Apologies, you probably heard the music, the outro, and we've decided to hang around and watch the last couple of minutes.
The outro off. We'll take the outro off.
Sure, we can take the outro off. You didn't hear the outro. You're going to hear the outro after this.
This is like, when you have a post-credit scene in a movie. This is our post-credit scene.
This is the first time we've done this. We haven't done this before. But we watched the last couple of minutes together just to sort of refresh our minds.
Yeah.
So I guess, do we talk it step by step what happened?
Well, so that's the thing. Like, I was pretty sure that he'd killed himself or he died at the end. Jesse didn't pick up on that. But so you rewatched it. Do you think that he was dead?
Yes, I think he's dead, but I don't think he killed himself.
It's a good pickup, yeah.
So just thinking about the film, I remember throughout that whenever it was a certain hour or time, he'd take that medication for his diabetes.
Yeah.
So my reading now is that was so stressed about the results that he didn't go and get his results. He forgot to take his medication.
His heart's probably pumping.
And he's passed away.
It seems like that's a really good, plausible way to look at it. I can't see a way where this movie, the way it plays out, where he doesn't die. And watching it again, like he really is dead when the nurse taps him. And we looked really closely in that final scene where he's going through the voices in his head. He doesn't do anything sinister, except potentially, I think he's playing with that like chess piece in his hand, but he almost looks like he's touching his chest a little bit, whether he might be out of breath or his heart's really struggling or something like that.
And there's that shot, there's the window behind where there's people carrying these weird things. So I don't know whether that's him crossing over into...
Yeah, I think it's probably like double pronged where it's generally the end of the day and people are packing up and moving. And it really does look like they're carrying a coffin, which they're probably not, but that's how it's supposed to look, the symbolism on it. So, yeah.
Good reach, but
please still shout out if you've got a different take.
You've opened my mind to the ending of this film now. Almost tempted to change it.
I'm glad we got to the point where we did rewatch it, because if you didn't rewatch it, I probably wouldn't have rewatched it again, because I was pretty sure about what happened. So that was good.
Good.
I'm glad we did a little post.
Good. Thanks for hanging around and listening to the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully that helped out a little bit, because you're sitting there going, "You guys are idiots. This is what happened."
And hopefully next week we both pick up what's happening in the film.
Hopefully we do.
All right. See you then.
See ya.